Hello and welcome to another edition of Highways Presents with me, Dominic Brown, editor of Highways magazine. Really excited about the show today. We've got a record breaker for you. The highest level of reclaimed or recycled asphalt pavement ever used in a road laying scheme in the UK. FM Conway, Westminster City Council, they reached 92% on a road called Elmfield Way in the heart of London, of course. Hard enough to do roadworks there, but a brilliant, groundbreaking achievement. So we're going to be finding out the details. We're going to be finding out the preparation. We're going to be finding out how they got the confidence to do it, and the matrix they set up that allows them to choose the right place, the right asphalt for the right place, and looking a little bit ahead at how we can break down the barriers so this can become business as usual for everyone. And I have to say, as well as the technical detail, we've got Mark O'Leary from Westminster. He knows his stuff. He's been in the business for a very long time, lots of experience in the public sector, highway engineering and the civil service, shall we say. And we've got Mark Flint, who's literally described as a mad scientist, been in the business for 30 years, worked in the public sector and the private sector, but got loads of knowledge, loads of kind of first-hand knowledge. And I think the thing that comes through most of all from these two is the relationship and the trust and the collaboration they have. They actually go out on site and walk the site together, which is unusual. And it's the strength of their relationship that really comes through. And I think it's impressive. So I hope, as well as being able to steal some great ideas and find out about a record-breaking scheme that can help bring circularity into our sector to new levels, I hope you just enjoy the conversation, because they're clearly a good partnership. So that's all from me. Hope you enjoy the episode. Thank you. Okay, great. Mark and Mark, thank you very much for joining me today. Really excited to talk about this groundbreaking, innovative project right in the heart of London, one of the hardest places in the world, I imagine, to do roadworks. And not only did you do a good job on the roadworks, but you've also done something that could help transform this sector in terms of its sustainability. So to get started, if we could just ask you guys to introduce yourselves. Mr. O'Leary, if I could go to you first.
Yeah, thanks, Dominic. My name is Mark O'Leary. I work for Westminster City Council as operations manager. I've worked in highways for around about 20 years, most of that time with Westminster. So, yeah, lots of experience in the sector. I've been operations manager for coming up to 2 years now. So have worked with Conway for quite a while and know Mark Flint and the team at Conway's quite well. So.
Yeah, it's been a very long-standing and successful partnership between you and FM Conway, hasn't it? Mr. Flint, if you'd like to introduce yourself, maybe say a little bit about how that partnership works.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Dominic. Mark Flint, I'm the technical director for FM Conway, and essentially looking after everything regarding production, research and development, bitumen, aggregates, asphalt, etc. Been in the industry now over 30 years, and I've worked on the client side, I've worked in production, I've worked in technical, so I think that gives me a really good background to look at it from all sides of the argument. In the relationship with Westminster, Mark in particular, has developed over the past 5 or 6 years, where we are go-to people, where we'll actually walk the sites together, which isn't traditionally done within this industry. The client looks at it and specifies something, or we'll go out and do our own thing as a contractor. But this one, it is people working together. It is true collaboration in every single sense of the word, from the initial walk through to the material going down, the final inspection and leaving. So I think this is absolutely unique within this industry, and I think it's something that people need to be able to look at and learn from and develop these relationships and get away from the traditional roles of contractor client to a true collaboration.
So it's not just a best-in-class model, you're also doing groundbreaking projects together, like the one we're going to be discussing today in Elmfield Way. Now, I understand the process used 92% recycling material, just checking my notes. So that's an incredible achievement. Please talk us through, how did that work? How did it happen?
I think the initial discussions were around what we could do, how we could stretch the envelope. We know there are standards there, the European standards, the British standards, and they will give you an amount of recycled material that can be used within that specification. Our previous discussions between ourselves and Westminster have decided that these limits are not really necessary, and they are a barrier to innovation in both the thought process and the actual doing of the material, the scheme. So we've looked at previous schemes, of which we've done 2 or 3, and we felt that we can stretch it a little bit further. We done a number of things in what we're actually calling stackable technologies, where we're not just using a high wrap content, we're then using a warm mix technology, we're then also using a single layer technology. A lot of the wrap does come back from Westminster, from our existing works there. So we're sort of that opinion now that what materials coming in from Westminster can then go back out. So we're familiar with the wrap. We're not just looking at it and thinking, yeah, it will work. We've got a lot of test data to support that. So it was a case of me thinking how far we can push the plant on that particular time, and weather conditions, everything else was right. So we increased the wrap content from a traditional 20% up to 70, with the previous high being 50. We actually got some recycled aggregates that have been used for a surface dressing program. So they were they would be put on a farmer's track or thrown away. So we actually got them and designed the material around that, using the 2 recycled materials together, and that actually came up with the 92. I think there's probably further to go, but what we've also got to think about is the programming, making sure that we manufacture the material, get into what we all know is a very busy road network. It's a 20 mile an hour, probably even less than that. So we know that the material's got to be made at the right time. It's then got the traffic to get through, get to site, and then if there's any problems on site, still be fit and workable for that. So there was a lot of moving parts within there. And yeah, I think the proof is in the pudding. It was a very big sigh of relief at the end of it to get there. I still think there's further to go, and we're already working on that, myself and Mark, now for the upcoming programme. So you might want to do another interview with us next year.
Certainly will. There's not that much further to go. You've only at 8% left.
Yeah, well, we'll squeeze what we can out of it. But I think the point with it all is, Dominic, that I think what we've arrived at, now within Westminster, is a business as usual, where everywhere else it's a trial. And the problem with trials is you never come out with them. What we've agreed with Westminster, this is now a business as usual. We know there's certain schemes within that borough where we can do this. We maximise the amount of recycling for all parties, green credentials, and it's great for the community to actually see what we're doing as well, as far as that's concerned.
Can you talk us through how the discussions and the design of the road allowed you to feel comfortable developing this really sustainable, almost completely circular option?
Yeah, sure. So we had in the past used a fairly high recycled content nearby, and we've done some test roads. Sutherland Avenue is just sort of the other side of Harrow Road near Elmfield Way, and that's one of the oldest sort of recycled content roads that we'd tested out previously. So we were confident in that it could perform very well and comparably well with sort of lower wrap content surfaces, and having this sort of long-standing relationship with Conway's and Mark Flint, he's a sort of mad scientist of asphalt. So we were confident in the advice we got from Mark, and having tested it nearby and in situ previously, we were confident the material would work there as well. So it was just sort of a good mix of timing, confidence in the location, and the road use and the hierarchy of that street, that high wrap content and that mix type would work for the street, given the time of year we were laying it as well. So yeah, we were happy going into it that we could do something special there. It was still a bit of an unknown using that high wrap content, so there's a little bit of trepidation going in and hoping that it would perform, but we were fairly confident that we could do that, and we could push that envelope and push the boundaries and come out with a result that worked for us and for the street and the use type. So I would say, yeah, we were happy going on Mark's advice that he was confident that the material would perform and would prove the use case up to a point previously in that area. So
yeah. So lots of factors there working together to support this. I mean, you say bit of a test case. I think this is a record, is it not, for the UK road network, the highest level of wrap or recycled content in the roadwork. So an incredible result. Mr. Flynn, you've both spoken about all of the things that allowed this to happen, but you also mentioned you want to make this business as usual. What are the barriers then to making sure that this just become, whenever there are roadworks of a certain scale, perhaps, that you can use this type of wrap content, this level of wrap content?
I think the first most obvious one is the specifications. They're written in such a way to allow you to use up to a set amount, and to go beyond that, you then get into the process called departure, where it's getting easier. That has to be recognised, that process is becoming easier, but it's still done under departure, which means there's a lot of work that needs to go in beforehand. There's then a perception as well that because it's recycled, that it's not going to work as well, that we're just throwing used materials in there to get rid of and become almost a dumping ground, which is dangerous on all sides, including the public, that they don't think that the product is going to be as good as it would be if it didn't have recycled material there. And also feeding into all that is investment, where if the specifications don't allow you to do that, if there is a perception that it's not as good as the other, then that stymies the investment. So to actually invest in an asphalt plant, a facility that will allow you to use more recycled product, like they do certainly in Japan and in continental Europe, where it's the norm to actually do that, it then stymies that investment, but also does is that crushes innovation at the same time. You don't feel the need to actually go out and spend a lot of time doing this sort of work, because you know that when you do go to a client, that their stock answer can be, no, it's not in the specification. And I understand that it's tried and tested, but we need to step out of that. We know that we've got problems with the environment, and this is a very easy way of doing it. Asphalt is the most recycled product in the world, and in the UK we've got an awful lot of it that needs recycling, and the proof for me is in what we've done. And yeah, they were the barriers, simplistically.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we're on the brink here of having a perfectly circular economy, which I kind of imagine, I can't think of any other industry in the world that would come anywhere close to that, really. Perhaps the water industry, maybe, I don't know. But you mentioned there the departure from standards. So can I just check? This is from the design manual for roads and bridges. They set down some basic specifications.
Yeah.
If you want to depart from those specifications, you have to go through the process. I understand National Highways did put a lot of work in trying to make it easier when they updated the DMRB, but is there any way we could make it even easier, if you see what I
mean? My sort of working theory is that instead of doing a departure for every single scheme that you do, let's say Westminster, for instance, we're using them, we've got 30 schemes within Westminster. Would you want to do a departure for every single scheme, or would you say at the start of a a calendar year on the 1st of January to the 31st of December. These are the parameters in which you can work to. You've still got to provide the test data at the end of the scheme, but we're not tying people up. We're talking about sustainability. Our times should be sustainable as well. We shouldn't be spending time doing the same thing over and over again when we know that we can actually put this block in. And that's my sort of mindset, that let's not do it per scheme. If we know that the technology works, that we've got the data that supports that, let's put it into a block and then review it at year end. If it's worked, do it again until it becomes the specification.
Mr. O'Leary, is that the kind of model you're hoping to, or you have put in, or you're hoping to put in?
I think from our side, we have developed this materials matrix with Conway's and the use case for we've got 8 mixes at the moment for the street types, and developed a use case for those, and we've got quite a bit of data having used recycled content and those mixes for a fair while now. So we have confidence and trust in the materials matrix and the wrap as well. So the performance of that material, I think having that long-standing partnership and having that data to fall back on and analyze has helped us develop those departures from standards where we feel we can sort of push the boundaries and push the envelope of that. So yeah, it's, you know, confidence, analysis and trust in that partnership and the materials matrix.
Yeah.
It might be worth just talking about the circular use of materials. So Piccadilly we've just done, so we just resurfaced Piccadilly, and I think it's the first time we've used the risings from that street back in the same street. So we had a directional closure each way on Piccadilly for 2 consecutive weeks, and used the risings from one side in the surface course for the other side. So that was quite a good circular story in terms of materials reuse.
You mentioned there you don't want to do it over and over again, but nor do we want all the other highway authorities to have to do this again. Can they just take your good ideas?
We're happy to share data, definitely. So we've mentioned this. We had a London branch meeting with the IHE, and are happy to share data and analysis that we've done so far and talk through the mix type. So if anyone wants to come and see what we're doing, come and look at the some of the data and analysis, then we're happy to make time for those people to come along and talk to us, definitely.
Well, that's brilliant. Was there anything you guys wanted to add? Anything I've missed out?
The thing that we need to highlight there, not just collaboration, but trust. Mark alluded to that word, and as FM Conway, we feel very honoured to be trusted to actually work with and advise Westminster with the best option for that particular scenario.
You're very trusted, although you were called a mad scientist. How do you feel about that?
I've been called far worse. I can assure you.
Okay, well, it's fantastic to hear from you guys. You've obviously got a great relationship. Long may it continue, because you're really pushing the boundaries here for the whole sector. So I hope everyone's watching this has enjoyed it as much as I have, and I can only say please do get in contact with both these gentlemen, find out what they're doing, and steal their ideas. Steal with pride, I say, because 92% recycled asphalt, that is a record in this country, and I think we should make that business as usual throughout this country. So yeah, thank you once again, Mark O'Leary and Mark Flint, and to everyone watching, thanks for joining us. Safe journeys, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dominic. Cheers, Mark.